The World's End Murders. Angus Sinclair was born in the old maternity hospital at Rothenroe in Glasgow in 1945, a month after the war in Europe ended. He was the second son, the third child of Angus and Mamie Sinclair. He was responsible for the World's End Murders in Edinburgh, Scotland. On the night of the 15th of October 1977, Christine Eadie and Helen Scott were leaving the World's End pub at closing time, the final stop on a Saturday night pub crawl. The following day, Christine's naked body was discovered in Gosford Bay, East Lothian, by hill walkers. Helen's body was found unclothed 6 miles away from Christine's in a corn stubble field. Both girls had been beaten, gagged, tied, raped, and strangled. No attempt had been made to conceal their bodies. In late 1977, Lothian and Borders Police conducted a high-profile criminal investigation, collating a list of over 500 suspects and taking over 13,000 statements from members of the public. Despite their efforts, they were unable to identify a culprit. The case commanded widespread attention in the Scottish media at the time, and a photo booth picture of the two girls was used by police in their appeal for information. At the time, the media reported that several witnesses had told police they had seen Helen Scott and Christine Eadie sitting near the public telephone in the bar, talking with two men. Neither of these men had been traced or since presented themselves to police. Speculations that the killings had been the work of two men was heightened when it was revealed that the knots used to tie the girls' hands behind their backs were of two different types. In May 1978, Lothian and Borders Police announced that they were scaling down the investigation. In 1997, Lothian and Borders Police Cold Case Unit instructed further forensic work to be undertaken in the case, reflecting improvements in DNA profiling technology since the murders occurred. This resulted in the isolation of a DNA profile of a male found on both girls. The DNA of the original 500 suspects was analysed and compared to the new sample, but there was no match. On the 8th of October 2003, following the broadcast of the reconstruction on the BBC's Crime Watch programme, the incident team at Lothian and Borders Police received a phone call from a man who claimed he was walking near Gosford Bay on the night of the murders, and that he saw a suspicious vehicle. He said it was a worker's van being driven erratically. The man did not come forward with this information during the initial investigation. It was revealed that immediately following the 2003 Crime Watch broadcast, police had received 130 calls from witnesses who had not previously made themselves known to the investigation. On October 15, 2003, it was reported in the press that Lothian and Borders Police had enlisted the help of the Forensic Science Service FSS to try and determine the identity of the person whom the unknown DNA sample belonged to. The unknown sample partially matched over 200 profiles in the National DNA Database. On the 25th of November 2004, Angus Robinson Sinclair, a man who lived in Edinburgh at the time of the murders, was detained under Section 14 of the Criminal Procedure Scotland Act 1995 in connection with the murders. Mouth swabs were taken for analysis. On the 31st of March 2005, Sinclair was arrested and charged by Lothian and Borders Police. On the 1st of April 2005, he appealed on petition in private at Edinburgh Sheriff Court, charged with the murders and rape of the two girls in October 1977. He made no plea or declaration at this time and was remanded in custody. On the afternoon of the 7th of September 2007, Senior Counsel of the Defence Edgar Paris QC made a submission under Section 97 of the Criminal Procedure Scotland Act 1995 that Sinclair had no case to answer in respect of the charges labelled, due to an insufficiency of evidence. In particular, he contended that the Crown had failed to lead evidence that Angus Sinclair had been involved in acting with force or violence against the girls, and the Advocate Debut had not led evidence to prove any sexual encounter between the panel and the girls had not been consensual. On the 10th of September 2007, following legal arguments on the matter, the trial judge Lord Clark upheld the defence submission of no case to answer, and formally acquitted Sinclair. On the 14th of March 2012, the Crown Office issued a press statement saying that the Procurator Fiscal had instructed Lothian and Borders Police to reopen the investigation into the murders of Christine Eadie and Helen Scott, following the introduction of the Double Jeopardy Scotland Act 2011. 3 judges set aside 8 days of court time in October 2013 to hear a bid from prosecutors pressing for Sinclair to stand trial for the second time. On the 15th of April 2014, the Crown was granted permission to bring a new prosecution against Angus Sinclair. The trial commenced on the 13th of October 2014 at the High Court of Justiciary, sitting in Livington, West Lothian. The prosecutor was Frank Mullahund. The Lord Advocate and the judge was Hugh Matthews, Lord Matthews. At one stage, the jury visited the scene of the murders in East Lothian on the 14th of November 2014. Sinclair was convicted of the murders of Helen Scott and Christine Eadie on the 15th of October 1977. Sentenced to a minimum prison term, 37 years, Angus Sinclair would be 106 years old before being eligible for parole.